Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pokemon Legends Arceus. We're going to be fighting the second final boss, because that's just how this game rolls.
Technically, it's the second of like 4 final bosses.
Yeah.
Fucking Owaka. Where would we be without you?
Who's Owaka?
Owaka.
Oh wait, I know who Owaka is. Owaka is that guy from Final Fantasy X.
Yes, the traveling merchant who's like with you all along the way and who begs you for money at the start of the game. He's actually like kind of a chill guy, but he doesn't give you the best first impression.
So yeah, this guy Volo, I thought there was something sketchy up with him literally the entire time. The moment I started the game, I was like,
We aren't there yet.
This guy's no good. I don't like him.
Well, obviously he's a planeswalker from the giant Magic the Gathering Pokemon Legends Dungeons and Dragons crossover.
They'll probably you know what? I was going to say they'll probably do that at some point, but Pokemon has its own trading card game, so probably not.
Owned by the same company.
Not anymore. Wizards lost the rights to Pokemon years ago.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, a long time ago.
It was when Pokemon was consolidating everything under their own company.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
well, that's
actually the old Pokemon cards that WotC made are not the same like rules system, so they're actually not legal in tournaments.
Really?
Not that they'd be good enough, because Pokemon, like many other trading card games out there, has had massive power creep over the years, but
Yeah, I can imagine. Still uses the same basic, like, watered down version of the mana system, though.
Good news is we can have Kadabra back, though.
Yeah, most trading card games use the same watered down version of the mana system. Like the Disney trading card game Lorcana uses basically the same thing, only there's no colors, so any card can be a land, basically. Oh yeah, I do not like these new designs for.
No, they're
I
terrible.
don't
They
know.
lose their arms to become a horse.
I'm kind of digging this sort of winged centaur thing.
Maybe it's just me, and I'm just the kind of person who hates change in any way, shape, or form. But it just looks weird, and I'm not a fan.
Well, I'm gonna blow your fucking mind right now. I fucking hate the legendaries from this generation.
I'm not a huge fan either, but these are worse to me.
But
for
like
some reason.
this looks like a goddamn mythical creature. The actual legendaries from Gen
It needs
4.
arms.
No, it doesn't. Why would it need arms?
There's like 2 shoulders. It still has
It's
shoulders,
like-
is the thing that I
Yeah,
think really bothers me. But it doesn't have arms.
If it wanted to be a centaur, fine, but it needs, like, either arms or to get rid of the massive shoulder pads.
It has wings.
The shoulder pads have the fans in them. That's how it can
you-
go into hot
do you know-
areas.
Do you know what wings are? They're arms. Like, that's what they are. Have you ever
I
noticed
mean,
that,
not necessarily.
have you ever noticed that pretty much everything that has wings does not have a set of arms in that part of their body?
Oh, clearly Lewis has not seen Fantasy Bird people. Because Fantasy Bird people have wings and arms,
Look,
like angels.
I'm a
with
shining,
heads.
I'm a shining force player. Half the best units in those games are birdmen, but like wings are arms. That's what they do.
Yeah, but they don't have hands, so they're clearly inferior.
When
Ignore the fact that they let you fly. My point still stands.
if you go back to like the dinosaurs when they were clearly evolving toward birdhood, like stuff like the OG Velociraptor with their feathered arms, and that's where the wings were starting to come in. It was the arms turning into what wings are now.
Yeah, this is easier than some of the other
Yeah.
boss fights in the game, surprisingly. Like, the actual final boss for real is pretty tricky. It's the only fight in the game I lost to. But this fight's pretty simple and
Man,
didn't give me too much trouble.
I just can't get over that frickin' luggage clasp on the Pokeballs.
It's pretty silly, yeah.
So is this like the OG Master Ball?
Yeah. It only works on this one specific Pokemon, and you have to use it now, so. We did it.
Somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. It was a load-bearing boss.
The sky going all dark and wibbly when a dark force is active is a trope as old as fantasy.
They show the credits twice, right?
No.
Oh yeah, they just don't do the credits until you actually...
No, they show the credits after this.
Oh, okay. Then never mind. Then I'm misremembering everything in my entire life.
Just what I'd expect of my protege.
I've been better than you since I arrived.
Okay. We're all done fawning over the protagonist.
Okay, yeah, this is the sort of thing where the lack of animation kills the comedy, because it's just like, oh, I can't believe he sumo throwed that guy. Yeah, that's not as funny as actually seeing him sumo.
Yeah.
One of my favorite gags in The Great Ace Attorney is when you meet your assistant for the first time. She's startled because you were stowing away on a ship. And what ends up happening is she ends up like judo throwing you across the room, and you see her doing animation for it, and then you see the room start to spin around because the Ace Attorney games are in first person. And that's funny because you actually see what happens. If the screen just blacked out and then Ryunosuke just said, "Oh, you sumo throwed me," that wouldn't be funny. Because you're just telling me what I should think is funny.
Yeah.
Welcome to Humor 101 with Ted. Thank you for attending the class. You're not getting your money back. I guess we're going to talk about our main thoughts on the game now, because they're playing the credits. Despite my bitching throughout various points of this playthrough, this game is still very good. I like it a lot. And in many ways, it's the direction I want the series to go. It's just very frustrating seeing the Pokemon Company continuously understaff and underpay its productions like this.
Yeah, this game could have been a much more, I want to say, legendary RPG adventure than it actually is. And it's frustrating because you know they could have made it that if they wanted to, and they just didn't. And like
yeah, it's I don't even know if it's a matter of whether or not they wanted to. Like they clearly have the it's just a matter of priorities. It feels like they didn't want to put all of their money and time into one thing, so they made two games at once that were trying the same thing, and as a result, both are run into issues that that the other somewhat fixes, which is the funny thing.
Yeah. My hope is that since this is technically a spin-off when they get to another one, because this game sold very well for being
we were just talking about this game sold again like 15 million units. This is very good.
I don't think it was that much, but it was close.
I was just looking at it. Hold on, I can tell you.
Yeah. Anyway, hopefully since it's a spin-off and it's not subject to the same deadlines the main series is, hopefully when they get to another one, it gets more time in the oven to cook.
Yeah, Legends Arceus as of June was 14.83 million units.
So close to 15, but
it's 15 by now because June was a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, they need to put the sequel in the oven. Honestly, the fact that recent Pokemon Direct didn't show much of interest, I think, is a good thing. Because it means that they're not announcing anything before it's ready.
Yeah, one of the guys who's upper head said they're trying to figure out a way to figure out the whole, we need to get certain releases out faster, but at the same time, we need to figure out how to actually make them up to snuff.
The thing is, they don't need to.
Yeah, they really don't. Pokemon makes enough money as it is. They don't need to have a game every year.
The only reason they feel obliged to push a game out every year is because of that stupid goddamn investor culture.
Yep.
Which is all about never-ending growth. Trying to turn every goddamn company into, like, frickin' gray goop that devours everything it touches. But, like, okay, so we have this... They
don't let you take a capture of this.
We have this series that is guaranteed to sell millions and millions of copies every year, right? And, yeah, why don't they let you take a capture of that? That's so weird.
I wonder if they let you take a capture of the credits, period. It might be one of those, during this cutscene, we can't let you do that, Star Fox kind of things.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. We have this series that's guaranteed to sell millions and millions of copies every time it releases a goddamn game. They could very easily make, one really good game every 2 years instead of one mediocre game every 1 year. And
I mean, if we're up to Ishihara, I doubt they'd make games at all. He just wants the money from the merchandise and easy sales.
Yeah, I know. But, like...
Which is why I've said time and again that man needs to go.
Yeah, and it's just like... The people in charge of this franchise do not have any pride in what they've got on their hands, and that's the biggest shame. Because, if they did, and if they just based some of their decisions on maintaining that pride, we'd have a much better and more enduring long-term franchise than this. But
it's the frustrating thing about it is mostly just that you can, once you know to look for it, you very easily see the cogs in the machine. They need to have a game out every year and a half so that they can have cards for the card game and XYZ.
Plushes to sell in the stores and
and etc.
The thing is, if they, dialed it back a little, focused on making better games a little less frequently, they could still do all of that merchandising stuff and more people would buy it.
I think I brought this up in an earlier part, but the cynical part of me says that they don't, because 15 million units with a worse game and 20 million units with a better game might not be different enough for
the investors.
Which is a shame, but
Well, the thing about investor culture is that it's all about them metrics. They don't look at the product, they look at the numbers. They look at the surface level numbers more specifically. And they're all about immediate returns. It's frustratingly impatient.
Yeah.
But, well. We could whine about this until the end of days, and it will probably never change.
Yeah, that's what I try not to get, I don't want to be, too depressing about it, because this game ultimately was the most fun I had actually playing Pokemon. In a long time. I would say since OG Sun and Moon, this is the most fun I had playing Pokemon.
Yeah.
And that's important, and it's a lot due to the risks that they ended up taking with the game. This game represented a lot of risks. They tried stuff that they never tried before, which is ultimately what I wanted them to do with Pokemon. I guess the thing that I really want to see going forward is just them to not fall back on what's been proven to work in the past. You know, stuff like like just doing Kanto again, or I feel like
fourth remake of Gen 1.
I mean, I say this as someone who likes Gen 1. Please put Fire Red and Leaf Green on the GBA Switch Online. Please and thank you. But with that said, Scarlet Violet 2, that game, I have some issues with that game, but it certainly did take a lot of risks, which I also appreciate. And that game also has some things that I want them to keep on trying to do. I think that's also part of what bothers me is that I feel like you see two... Oh, look at the stupid face.
Oh.
You see two parts of them trying to tackle a game like this at different angles. And I wonder what the full game would have looked like if they had just done one of those two concepts full speed ahead.
One of the things is like the fact that they did attack the concept from two different directions is itself a pretty valid, a pretty valid way to experiment with game design. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is these two games being released like within the same year as each other, because that's like, you'd get more out of that experimentation if you spent more time on each individual step.
Yeah, I purposefully waited like a month and a half to play Scarlet and Violet, specifically because I still, was... I don't want to say burnt out on Pokemon, because I was having a lot of fun with Arceus, but it's like I just played a Pokemon game. I don't really need to play another one that soon.
Well, you probably, came out ahead on that decision because, some patchwork happened. And the game was probably a bit more stable by the time you got to it than it was at launch.
I mean, I still ran into some weird shit. I have a clip on my Twitter of I fell off of a ledge, and then my bike just kind of landed, but it was still falling. It was there for like a good minute and a half before the failsafe kicked me back off to the top of the ledge, and I was like, "Oh."
I think that's I think that's a thing that happens pretty commonly. Yeah, it just works. Okay, so.
Yeah. So now we have to do a fetch quest for the remaining
legendaries and stuff like that.
Yeah, the remaining plates too, I think.
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
You see, Arceus is the kind of person who brings out the fine china when friends and family come over. Versus me, where if you give me a gift that is some nice plates, I'm gonna fucking use the nice plates. Because otherwise I'm just buying cheap plates to use for myself. And, like, isn't that why people give you gifts? Is so that you don't have to spend money on that garbage? But, that's just me.
Well, depending on how nice the plates are, that shit might just go on the display shelf.
So at my house, we have these, like, John F. Kennedy plates with, like, his face on them. Like, they're just there. And they're kind of weird, and I'm like, why do I want to be looking at John F. Kennedy when I'm eating my dinner? I don't get it.
I don't know. It's no different than any, like, painting you might hang on your wall.
Yeah, but I don't eat on the painting.
I know my great-grandma used to have...
You don't eat on that specific plate, either. It's purely for display.
So then why is it a plate?
It's a decoration. It's a decoration. Sure. Decorations can take all shapes.
Sure. What did your grandma have, Ryan?
No, my great-grandma used to have fancy plates of, like, Wizard of Oz stuff.
Oh,
that was her favorite
like the movie?
Yeah.
Huh.
Mind you, she was there when the movie came out, so...
Oh, okay.
It's like it's not something that like our generation of gamers typically indulges in, but yeah, there are a lot of decorative plates out there.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, Burger King had these Hercules plates from the Disney movie that actually hold up pretty good, and we still use them.
Oh yeah, like when
I
I was
remember when Burger King had these Batman Forever glasses.
I was about to bring those up. Those were so good.
Yeah, there was a Disney Renaissance set of like glasses that, well, not, they were plastic, but they were like cups. Oh, are you just showing off to this guy? Oh, look at that, the
Yeah.
legendary you couldn't beat.
Fuck you.
I feel like in the early to mid 90s, the quality of kids' meal bonuses was a lot higher than it is today. Like, these days, it's always some cheap-ass little toy.
I haven't gotten a Happy Meal in a long time, so I can't speak to it. But I do remember them getting lamer as I, maybe, you know, again, maybe this might just be me becoming a teenager and thinking, oh, that's lame for babies.
Well, I mean, there were some really lame toys back in the day, too. Like, I remember some of the Sonic the Hedgehog toys were pretty cheap, but, like, occasionally they would have something really good.
You know, as much as we make fun of them nowadays, it was pretty cool when they had the Sonic Game & Watch type things at McDonald's. I mean, granted, yes, they're not like the most amazing pieces of software of all time, but they probably were pretty expensive to develop and make and produce for the fucking Happy Meal toy.
Well, I don't...
Shadow basketball.
I don't necessarily know about that, but I've watched Ashens for years, so I know how many cheap-ass Game & Watch bootleg shits there are out there.
Yeah. I mean... Granted, I'm not saying that they were, like, expensive to make, but compared to your typical plastic bullshit that you get in a Happy Meal, it probably costs some amount of money.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But nowadays, how often do kids, like, get their parents to buy Happy Meals for them nowadays compared to back in the day?
That's something that I would need to talk to actual children to find out. I remember when McDonald's was doing the Neopets Happy Meal promotion, where they had like little Neopets plushies. I literally made my mom go to McDonald's like twice every week so that we could get as many of them as possible. Because they only ever gave out one specific toy every day. Like, they didn't give you a different toy every time, and you couldn't be like, oh, can I have this one? And it's like, no, it's like they have one a day and they give it to you. So I had to keep on going to get the Dragon Neopet, which was my favorite. And I didn't stop until I got it.
Oh man, that was an unhealthy month.
No, it was not good for my cholesterol at all.
That's okay. You were young enough. Your metabolism was fine.
Yeah, my metabolism's doing great now.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
At our age, our metabolism sucks.
The Burger King Pokemon toys, actually, I remember were decent quality, too. We don't have any of those lying around anymore, unfortunately.
I wonder how they work out the budget for that sort of stuff.
I'm sure that the majority of the money is for licensing. And that the rest of the stuff can be made for less than a quarter per toy. And even if it's more than that, the money is being made up by the rest of the money that they make on the meal. Because, fun fact, even though it now costs over $10 to get a meal at McDonald's, it only costs them like $4 to make the whole thing, and that's probably an overestimate. Including like labor and whatnot, and packaging and all that garbage. The soda itself, they sell a soda for $1.29, and the cup, cap, and actual soda is probably like 20 cents. So, you know, capitalism's fake and should die. is the moral of the story.
We're opening the can of worms right into everyone's faces today, aren't we?
Too bad it's at the end of the part.